Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal EMac coming to you with one T McBee, Terry McBride, as we get ready to bring you to September 2nd, Wednesday, baseball, and we are one turn of the calendar closer to the NFL. Terry, are you getting ready for the NFL?
Yeah, I am. I still feel a little bit behind. You and I were talking about it, I think, off the air the other day, just with the lack of preseason and everything. It's really sneaking up on me. So I'm going to be relying heavily on our rankings from the site this year, and I really like how that's making me different from ADP and a lot of the consensus rankings. So it's going to be a dynamite draft. It's going to be a lot of fun, but yeah, I got a lot of catching up to do still.
That's kind of going to be the rest of my week and weekend. I actually have a little time off next week. I'll still be doing content stuff, but I'm not going to be doing the day job. Plus, it's a holiday weekend. So I figure that's when I'm going to try to get in a few best balls each day. Normally I do, or last year I did a couple hundred of them. This year, there's just not going to be the time. I also, like you, the kind of the dearth of information. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do with people that would get sick. Are they going to cancel games? Because we didn't really know. And then once sports started up again, well, I've been so busy focusing on NHL and NBA and baseball that I just haven't had time. And without the cadence of preseason, like you said, oh my gosh, where are we going to find all this stuff? Or it just doesn't seem real. Because now it's like, oh yeah, shouldn't we be thinking about the MLB All-Star break right about now? Or shouldn't it be like the 4th of July when everybody's wearing the cool hats with the stars and stripes motifs and all? It's like, no, we've got about, 30 or so days left of baseball regular season.
Yeah. September, we're in fall baseball mode. I mean, it's crazy. It seems like it should be heating up, like you're saying, like just getting to those warm months and those really hot months. And yeah, we're in cool off mode now. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So fortunately, we, as you mentioned, you alluded to there, we do have some amazing content here on Awesemo for season long, in addition to our DFS stuff for NFL. Now, you guys, if you haven't signed up, you kind of missed out on the amazing deal that we had, where we were given 30% off for our season long NFL package, and throwing in our season, the full DFS for the year for NFL was also including the season long NFL. And best ball and drafting and all of that. So that deal's gone. But what we still have is if you sign up for our draft kit, it's just $29.95, right? So that's not a lot. It's well worth it. And as Terry mentioned, there's no DFS echo chamber. There's no groupthink, because this is just, everything's going off of Alex's models. He's ran the numbers on all the games and is adjusting for news and in player changes and injuries and trades and Leonard Fournette getting cut and things like that. But this is a different approach. So he's applying what he does for daily fantasy onto the season long. Now, he did a little bit of that last year because he had his own rankings, but this year he's making them available for everybody. So that you get that, plus you get all sorts of articles, strategy, content, player capsules for everybody with stats and just everything. So it's a very, very, very slick product. That's just $29.95. And then if you go and sign up at the FFPC and use that same email address, we'll contact support at Awesemo, and we'll make sure you get a $35 credit over there at the FFPC. So win-win. It's definitely a way to do it, because they do best ball contests over there. They're trying to get some new customers in here, and that's the deal that they're offering if you've already signed up with us as well for the season long NFL package, to get a little synergy going there. So there you are. That will be the sales pitch. There will be one secret one that happens, but otherwise no more sales pitches for this show. So hit that like button and retweet our tweets for this show. But there you are. That's my Wednesday gift to all of you guys. All right, Terry, let's jump on in here. So I can be benevolent at times.
Very, very kind of you. And the next one will be so secret, like you said, they won't even notice. So.
They won't even notice.
Nice and
painless. Come on. All right. So DraftKings is running a classic, which is their 2-pitcher normal position 2-game slate at 3:00, and then they're running their turbo 2-game 6:00 slate, which is pitcher, 2 infielders, 2 outfielders, 2 utility. So we're not going to talk about their pricing, but we're going to talk about all the pitchers, and we will utilize FanDuel as our little guideline here because they are doing a 4-game slate, and it's just a little more for organization. But the same analysis will apply on the single-game contest as well as the 2-game contest. So at 310, we have our game in Coors Field. It's going to be in the mid-80s. We've got a little breeze going out to left. Logan Webb is taking the mound here for San Francisco, and then Kyle Freeland is on the other side for the Rockies. We have a 5.7 implied run total for San Francisco, 6.5 going against Logan Webb for the Rockies. Any points of merit for these pitchers, or is there a specific type of hitter you would like to target either with?
Everybody. Yeah, that's basically what's going to be my answer. I was trying to figure out a good way to put it. Coors game, yeah, I think these are pitchers we can target with bats. They both do get some ground balls. 55.5% ground ball, 49% career for Freeland, and 48.9% ground ball so far this year for Webb. So maybe guys who can keep the ball on the ground a little bit tomorrow, limit some of the runs. But Coors just plays big in general, even if people aren't hitting the ball out of the yard. There's just so much room in the gaps. And, you get a couple guys on base, you get a gapper, and all of a sudden you got a 5-run total anyway. So I don't like either pitcher here. Neither guy really is much of a strikeout pitcher, so really not much to see here on the offensive side or the pitching side. On the offensive side, I would probably look more Rockies, just based on Freeland is more experienced pitching at Coors, knows it a little bit better, and has demonstrably handled it in seasons past. So I would shy more away from the Giants and lean more into the Rockies if I was choosing a side on the Bats side of this.
All right, the next one is at 405. A little bit of potential rain in the DC area. This one's in Baltimore. We've got Michael Wacha back off the injured. I believe he was on the injured list. And then you've got John Means, as Terry pointed out to me before the show, 2019 All-Star pitcher John Means. The Mets are actually decent on offense this year, to the point of I would say they're actually good. They have the ability to get right-handed or left-handed, and they've got competent bats. Who knew? All it took was Cespedes to just wander away from the team, and they're making a little bit of noise. Keep an eye on J.D. Davis. He's been a little dinged up. But otherwise, going against Means with some of the righties is perfectly fine. They've got Todd Frazier back in the fold. Yes, he was in Texas for the last month, but he's back in a Metropolitans uniform. Wilson Ramos is very solid against lefties. And then McNeil and Conforto are the two lefty-lefty guys I don't mind in this one. On the other side, going against Wacha, for me, I think Anthony Santander is just a phenomenal young hitter. And then it gets a little funky. So Ryan Mountcastle has been towards the bottom of the lineup. He on DK, I think he's still, maybe it was it's ESPN, I'm thinking. He's multi-position on DK, I forget which ones. On ESPN, he's first, third, and outfield eligible. I have him on. Yeah, it's where hashtag 2020. I don't know if they changed the eligibility rules this year or he had them because of minor league or whatever, but usually you have to get 5 or 10 games before anybody gets that many positions. So
he hasn't been in the league long enough to have played that many slots.
Yeah, so I think he probably came up with like first and third eligibility and earned outfield or something along those lines. But in any event, he's down at the bottom of the order. Intriguing guy we could see leading off, and he's near minimum everywhere, Cedric Mullins. He's a guy that I guess I can name 5 old school leadoff hitters that nobody's going to know who they are. But Chucky Carr, let's go with him. You've got Florida Marlins. There. And I think he played for Colorado too. In any event, Mullins is an interesting guy. He's also a switch hitter. He does have some speed, but he is someone that if you're getting him at a near minimum at the top of the order, go for it. He's someone this will be, I think, his 3rd different season here with Baltimore. He came up as a September call-up. I want to say it was 2 years ago. It wasn't last year. We'd seen him before that. And just kind of when Baltimore was mailing it in, had some moments. So he's someone I would look to as well. I'm going to pull up his player card and see if there's anything good on him. Do you like either of these pitchers, Means or Michael Wacha?
No, not really. I don't think Means is just coming back. I don't know how much he's going to go, how much leash he's going to have here. And second half of his year last year, not nearly as good as that first part that got him to the All-Star game. So just not a pitcher I really want to rely on. Waka's a pitcher I never really want to rely on. Do not trust him. Just looking at him, career 20.8% strikeout rate, 8.1% walk, only 1.03 home run per nine for his career, but last year 1.85. 2.12 in 2020 so far, 2.10 to right-handed hitters in 2019. So righties can definitely put some damage on him with the home run ball. Not a lot of strikeout, not a lot of whiff. Sitting 20th percentile in hard hit rate, 11th in fastball spin, 14th in curveball spin. So he's got kind of a flat arsenal that just sits in the zone for hitters. Not a guy I like to get to. So I think we can play some of the bats on both sides. You mentioned the Mets. Very, very good lineup at this point. And I like that theory that they just had to get rid of Cespedes and everything would fall into place. Seems like it's true. It really is working out for them, and bringing in some new bats for their playoff race, or some very old bats for their playoff race, but could work out, could bolster them a little bit. Pete Alonso needs to get in gear for them if they're going to really do any damage overall. But we saw all his quality last year, so I'm still not worried. It's still a small sample. So I think he bounces back, has a nice September, and they really go on a run. I do like the Orioles lineup, here and there. I think against this pitcher, we can utilize it. You mentioned Mullins. If he's going to be hitting up top, I like him better than what I said about him in my column when he was hitting. I had him projected to hit ninth today. So I do like him better in the leadoff spot. Santander, you mentioned, definitely very, very good option. Going into yesterday when I was writing about him, he was second in the league in doubles, in addition to his, I believe he's top 10 in home runs with 10. So he's really putting a drive into the ball, doing really well so far this year. Hits from both sides of the plate, so the bullpen won't affect him. You can get some power out of Renato Nunez. You get a little bit out of Chance Cisco on the left side of the plate, and then you mentioned Mountcastle. Those guys basically are there. They'll help you get from Santander to Mountcastle in that stack. I wouldn't really dabble too much with the bottom of the lineup there.
Yep. So Cedric Mullins, I was right. He came up late in 2018. That's the most he's played. He's been around for 50 or so, 60 at bats this year, or plate appearances. He last year in the minors showed some nice speed. He had 33 stolen bases. Year before that, and that was across various stops during the year. The year before that, he had 21. And then when he was in low A, he had 30, 17, and 23. So he's not afraid to run. I think and he had a little bit of pop. I think I remember him like as a minimum priced guy who like got a home run and a steal or something like that. And, we were off to the races. So he's not like
oddball slate breakers.
Yeah, he's not like a top prospect, but on a short slate, he's someone to take note of. He could be that, the spark guy, not like a true Billy Hamilton, because he can actually hit, but he's someone to look to. All right.
Yeah, and someone who's not necessarily going to get the name recognition either. So you're sneaky with that spot as well.
The 6:00 games are the Cardinals at the Reds. They're putting a hurt on Sonny Gray, the Cardinals, that is. We've got Johan Oviedo. We'll be taking the bump there for the Redbirds. The Reds will have Tyler Mahle going. We know that Mahle is very, very, very susceptible to lefties, but and I want to say they're not terrifying lefties, but there's going to be a lot of them because the bottom part of the lineup here for the Cardinals can be a lot of switch hitters, which is something they did not really have previously. Last year, it was mostly their lefties were mostly Colton Long, switch hitting Tommy Edelman, and then Matt Carpenter, who last year was his crappy year. The year before was his resurgent year out of nowhere. But that was really it for their lefties. Then they've got those guys plus Dexter Fowler, and Dexter Fowler's kind of an afterthought at this point. But Dylan Carlson, Colton Long, Brad Miller added to the mix, former Mariner, former Tampa Bay Ray, etc. He has some power upside. And I saw they had, who was it? Aristides Aquino was in the lineup earlier today. Yeah, I didn't realize he was up with the big club, but that was a name I had not heard for a while. Pure raw power hitter.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, so there's your Redbirds. On the other side, he is slated to be in lineup again, Aristides Aquino. On the other side, you got Moustakas, Suarez, Castellanos. So this is all about the hitters, in my opinion. Anything stand out to you on either of the pitchers for this one?
Yeah, I think it is a hitter's spot. I do like Molly. He's made some changes. His fastball spin before this year went up from 2150-ish to 2350-ish. And that's made a big difference in his ability to get whiff on that pitch. So could be a real impact. We've seen he's gone up to 28.8% whiff on that four-seamer now. And we've seen that for some of the other guys that we've talked about recently, where adding that spin and creating the rising effect on the fastball really helps the other stuff play well off of the fastball. So he's in the 89th percentile in strikeout rate this year, 88th percentile in whiff rate. 2.23 home run per nine versus left-handers for his career in 284 and 2/3 innings. So definitely want to watch out for that. And if you're rolling out bats on the other side, like you said, I definitely think that's a spot to look to with some of those switch hitters and some of those lefties. But overall, Molly's, he could be sneaky on that slate, and you might be able to make use of him in that one pitcher format on DK. The other kid, Oviedo, is a prospect for the Cards, but not really a kid who I think is there yet. He was mid-20s strikeout percent in the minors, 10 to 12% walk rate, though. He's got 40 grade command in traditional scouting, which is not good. So he's kind of an all-over-the-place guy. 55 grade fastball, 55 curve and change. So he's got decently graded stuff, throws it about 95 on his fastball. So far this year, very limited sample, 10 innings pitched. But he's first percentile exit velo, first percentile hard hit rate, 15th percentile xwOBA. So just a kid who's probably not there yet. So I think you can load up some of those Reds bats. You mentioned Aquino being back. We've got Castellanos in there, Eugenio Suarez in there, Mike Moustakas in there. So I think you throw a few of those guys at the kid, and you're probably going to be sitting pretty.
All right, just for fun, here are the lefties through 7 innings against the Reds. Colton Wong, 4 for 4, 2 RBIs, 4 runs scored. Tommy Edman, 3 for 6, a run scored, an RBI. Lefty Brad Miller, 3 for 5, 5 RBIs, 2 runs scored. And then Yadier Molina, who is not a lefty, but he does have, he's 3 for 5. Played catcher and first base tonight. And then Matt Carpenter, 1 for 4, but 2 runs scored and a walk.
All right, I'll take it.
They're up 14-1. So the bullpen has been heavily used. They've gone with 6 pitchers, 5 out of the bullpen already for the Reds.
Wow. How much of that got hung on Sonny's tab?
He had got 2 outs, 6 runs earned, 5 hits, 3 walks, 1 strikeout, no home runs allowed. Yeah, there's just been 1 home run.
Yankees Sonny Gray performance.
Yeah, that's an appearance from the fraudulent Sonny Gray, as
yes, it is.
Laffy and Davis Maddock coined him so many years ago.
I remember that Sonny Gray.
All right. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, that kid, you pronounce it Oviedo, and if I'm remembering my Spanish, Olvidar means to forget. So that's a conjugation of to forget. So he's a forgettable pitcher, and I've already forgotten him.
There we go. Now we have the real pitchers. Well, one anyway. Hyun Ryu gets the matchup against Miami. On the other side, Sixto Sanchez had a decent start. I think it was his last outing. But the Jays are... I don't know what to do with the Jays. They're a team that I don't know what to do with them anymore. That's all I've got. I'm sorry. Are they buying? Are they selling? They've got people hurt. Jonathan VR, instantaneous revenge, I guess. Because he's now in their lineup. This will be the second game he's played. Danny Jansen's playing a prominent role again. Travis Shaw is in the mix. Rowdy Tellez, those are lefties that can't hit other lefties. I don't know. This is a weird lineup.
Yeah, weird is a good way to describe this lineup, the way that they're constructed right now. You know, we've got quality that we like in the kids, the second-generation kids, but some of them are missing here. We're no Teoscar tonight, so you've got Kevin Biggio, Vlad Guerrero, and Lourdes Gurriel are in the lineup tonight. You can get to some of those guys and then mix and match. I like Grichuk. I usually get good power numbers on Grichuk. So some combination of the second-generation kids, VR and Grichuk, kind of works for me as a stack there. It would depend on what I was seeing projection and price-wise putting it together. But I think we can roll out some Blue Jays against Sixto. Sixto is a very high pedigree kid. You mentioned he had a dynamite start the other day. So his 29.8% strikeout and only 2.1% walk over his whopping 12-inning sample size so far in the majors. But he brings it at 98 miles an hour. He's got a big 10-mile-an-hour change to his when he throws his changeup, change in velocity. Gets a good amount of swing and miss on all 5 of his pitches. So really like the kid overall. But again, it's a rookie. I'm always willing to roll out bats that are quality bats and bats that have some power against a kid who's just come up, even one of high-end pedigree. I think I would probably have some Sixto on the other side if I was making a bunch of lineups for this weird little slate. But I think you can attack him with some of those higher-end bats. I wouldn't mess around with too many of the bottom end of that lineup. It gets ugly fast. But some of the quality that we talked about, I think you can get to there. On the other side, Ryu definitely pitching really, really well this year. Like him a lot in this spot against the weak Marlins lineup. Ks are up this year. They were 27% in 2018, then they dropped back to 22% last year. Now they're back up around 27. For his career, 0.79 home runs per 9 to right-handed hitters. Not much to worry about there. 54.7% ground balls this year, 48% in his career. Four-seamer, cutter, and curveball, all over 25% whiff, 30% whiff on his changeup. So he's got some good pitches, good swing and miss there. So I really like him. I think we can go to him in heavy and often in this matchup.
All right, that's going to take us to the main slate here. It is a solid one. We've got a 10-gamer. First one back, we're going to just hit on the pitching here. Charlie Morton going against New York. We've got... see, Montgomery is going to be on the other side for the Yankees. Montgomery has gone 68, 49, 78, and 95 pitches in his last 4 starts. That was against the Mets, Boston, Atlanta, and Philly. So some decent offenses in there. He's stretched out, but I don't know why he went short in a couple of those. Charlie Morton, big red caution sign with him. He's back from the injured list. He's missed the last 3 weeks with shoulder fatigue. We have no idea what his pitch count is going to be. I really don't want to take any risk on that. I don't think the Rays would bring him back, too soon. But I could also see him getting like a 40 or 50 pitch outing because they're not afraid to do that with anybody, including their high-end guys. So,
yeah. I think that's definitely a big caution flag, like you said, on Morton. And I think the blurb that I read even said outright 3 innings. So I would be very concerned about that. 8,500 on DK, that's just too much to pay for that spot. And we're also dealing with a pitcher before he went out. He was kind of struggling, had lost 2 miles an hour off of his fastball, had not regained it by the time he went out. So he was a 26 to 30% strikeout guy the last 4 years, but before he went out, he was down to 22% so far this year. It's a limited sample. He might come back and be throwing fire again and a lot of spin and go right back to who he was. But we're not going to see him enough tomorrow to find out. So I would not go to Charlie there. Montgomery, not a guy I love to get to for DFS purposes. 7,500 on DK. Kind of high price for his quality as like an SP2, 7,100 on FanDuel. I don't think you need it. Not getting a great projection on him. So he's a pitcher, 21.7% strikeout for his career, 7.5% walk, 1.19 home run per 9. So it doesn't give up a ton of power, but he's not a big time strikeout pitcher. Throws a sinker 25% of the time, 45% ground ball. So far this year in his 24 innings, which didn't qualify in the leaderboard, he's throwing 29.3% soft contact, which is excellent. That is, a really phenomenal rate. Not something I think is sustainable over the course of the season, but you like to see it for now. So if he can keep doing that, if he can get the ball on the ground, you might see an okay start from an innings perspective. You might get through 5 clean, strike out 2 or 3 hitters and not get really hurt, not kill you. But I think we could do better. And with Aaron Boone as the manager, he's got a quick hook usually. That's his philosophy with these guys. He likes to get to that Yankees pen. So I think we could see him get hooked early and not put up what we need.
All right, next one's a little bit more interesting, but not for good reasons. You've got Kyle Hendricks, who has been given a very nice pitch count. He's averaging about 96 pitches per outing this season without Joe Madden, pulling him in the 6th or before. whether he needed to be or not. But he's been giving up a lot of home runs, so that's a bit of a problem. 2, 2, and 1 in his last 3 starts. That's a concern. He's been pounding the strike zone, just 2 walks. He does have 14 strikeouts. That's across 18 innings. But he's going against Pittsburgh. We like to target against Pittsburgh this season. On the other side, we have a broken pitcher who broke Terry's model. Take it away with Derek Holland.
Yeah, Derek Holland, man. Before we got on the show, I told EMac, we were just chatting, and I glanced over at my model. The Cubbies happened to be pulled up. And I said, oh, geez, this is broken. I got to look into it. Oh, no, they're just going up against Derek Holland. The numbers are eye-popping in my home run model for the Cubbies tomorrow against Holland. So 4 players currently over 20, which you guys know that 10 is typically the good mark that we're looking for there. 20 is extreme. So I think we can stack Cubbies quite often tomorrow. Holland's 2.13 home run per 9 in 2019, 2.07 in 2017. Overall, he's a 1.62 to righties for his career. Limits it to lefties, so maybe roll out some more of those righty bats and some of the switch hitters on the Cubs. First percentile in exit velo, 4th in hard hit rate, 7th in xwOBA, 6th in xERA, 3rd in barrels. These are all bad numbers. Decent in strikeout, K rate 61st percentile, 54th in whiff. It's a little above league average in those, but not somebody to fear, somebody we definitely want to target and stack against. Hendo on the other side, I think we can get to pitchers pretty frequently against Pirates, just in general. I had a fair share of John Lester today. Last I saw, he had only given up 1 run. I hope that's still holding up because, like I said, I got a decent amount of them. Hendo, I'm not too worried about the home runs. They're a little wonky. 6 home runs in 44 innings through this year. 0.89 home run per 9 for his career. Sub 1 to both hands. So he's not a guy that the platoon really gets to. 45.7% grounders so far this year, up from 41% last year, trending back toward his career norm of 47%. Very good on a lot of the quality of contact numbers as well. 90th percentile exit velo, 91st hard hit rate, 80th in barrels, also 82nd in xwOBA. So I think we can get to some Hendricks. I don't know that I would go completely haywire with it. Price 8,300 on FanDuel, getting a good projection. 87 on DK. Think I like him better over on FanDuel, where he's like an inexpensive tier single starter, as opposed to kind of a pricey in between SP1, SP2 kind of a guy.
All right, moving along. Max Scherzer going to try to do what Pat Corbin could not, who gave up what? Well, the score is 6-0 in the 8th. We've got Corbin. Oh, Corbin was only tagged for 2 runs. Sadly, the bullpen let the Nationals down once more. 10,400 though for Scherzer. That's a phenomenal price point. He's not faced Philadelphia yet this year. In his last couple outings, remember he had a start skip there, but he went 92, 108, and 105, and 111 in there for his last 4 since returning from his. I missed just 1 start in any event, or was it a rain out? They pushed him back for 1. Still is tough place to go. Zach Wheeler on the other side, reasonably good pitcher, having a phenomenal year. Doesn't get enough strikeouts, relies heavily on the ground ball, and is 9,500. Price is going to keep me away from him. Any merits to either of those guys? How confident are you in Scherzer against a decent Phillies lineup here?
Yeah, I like Max. I'm getting an okay projection for him. So on FanDuel, he's 11-2, which is a little bit on the high end just based on the board where he's projecting for everybody else. It's not a Max Scherzer kind of projection, and it's based on the matchup against the very good Phillies offense that my model tends to respect. 10-4 on DK, I think, is a pretty good price. 800 less than on FanDuel. I think we can get to him more over there. Just looking at my board, if I sort by projection here, he's only like my 4th highest projected FanDuel starter, and I've got several guys who are significantly less expensive above him. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to get to him. In a vacuum, he's a pitcher I love, of course. 37 innings, 34.4% strikeout rate this year, 2.96 xFIP, 1.34 whip, putting a few too many guys on base, but hasn't really burned him. He's dominating Statcast. He's got a lot of whiff on his slider. 59% whiff on his slider. All 120 that he's thrown this year have been to right-handed hitters, and it's got a 0.041 x-ISO on the pitch. Uses his curve, his cutter, his change, and gets 25% whiff against lefties as his out pitch over there. Overall, 92nd percentile strikeout rate, 93rd whiff, 66th percentile xWOBA. Not a pitcher you really worry too much about on and against anybody. So you could play him on FanDuel. It's just I don't love the price. And on DK, I think we can get to it. Wheeler on the other side, the Nats are a lineup I respect. Like you said, he's not striking anybody out. 15.3% strikeout rate, getting ground balls, and that's what he relies on. 53.8% grounders in 2020, was 44% and 42% the last 2 years. So it's really gone up in Philly. 26% sinker two-seamer usage, nearly all to right-handed hitters. Slider and his curve get good whiff, but overall he's not working the strikeout. Lots of medium contact on the grounds. He ranks 30th overall in soft contact, but he ranks second in medium contact. Second in limiting hard contact, only to Kenta Maeda. He's at 30.5% hard hit rate. Maeda's at 25%. Maeda takes his and sends it to soft contact, though, where Wheeler's goes to 54% medium contact. So it's interesting. He's giving up liners, decently hit balls, and not converting it to soft contact. So that's something that you could see change. And if the ground balls start dropping, he could end up in trouble. I don't think it's something that we have to worry about against the Nationals here, but he's not a pitcher I'm really going to get to in too much capacity because of the limited strikeouts. And it is a lineup I like.
All right. You've got the next game is a mess. Boston, I don't think it's possible they could have a worse pitching staff. We'll see. So Robbie Erlin is going to go for Atlanta. I'm seeing a couple different things here for Boston. Robbie Erlin, whole lot of meh. Definitely take Boston against him. He's a lefty if you needed to know. I'm seeing one site is saying Martin Perez. Why are they saying Martin Perez?
I have Mike Kickham.
So that's where I'm. So it looks like it's Robert Stock is going to go as the opener, and Kickham is going to go as the reliever or the probable follower. 31-year-old, first big league game since 2014, career 11 ERA over 30 innings. That's all you need to know there. I was just trying to figure out why is Martin. Anyway, neither here nor there.
Yeah, that's weird. I hadn't seen Martin pop up, but yeah, I was just looking forward to talking about the guy who hasn't pitched in the show since 2014. When you see a guy as a 31-year-old rookie who has not cracked 40 innings pitched in the show, you can safely assume that you can skip him. Minor league journeyman, 6th organization, all in the minors, except for a blip back with, was it San Francisco, I think? Back in the day. So back then, and that's all we can really go by, he was throwing a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, an 84-mile-an-hour slider. None of them were overly effective in the very limited 32 innings he's pitched. So I think we can safely skip that guy, and we can probably look to some of those Braves bats. And I think we can probably look to some of the Red Sox bats as well against Erlin. Do not get a strong projection for him. Would not go to Erlin on either site despite the price. I just think even the diminished Red Sox lineup that we have here with guys like Yairo Munoz, Su-Wei Lin, Jonathan Aruz, it's not the Red Sox of back in the day, but I think even these Red Sox can pound Robbie Erlin for a few runs here. So would get to some of that righty power in the Red Sox lineup that we know and love and not really sweat it too much.
All right, Spencer Turnbull should be on the mound here for the Tigers going against Milwaukee in Milwaukee. He's had a solid season, still has not allowed a home run yet this year through 30 innings. That I did not see coming. On the other side, Adrian Hauser, who we talked a little bit about last night when we thought he was going to be the starter, he has been scuffling, I believe is what we basically said last night. Not seeing a lot of the strikeouts that we thought we'd see. He does allow power, which makes sense because he throws the fastball a lot. 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1 home runs in his games this season. So not getting crushed, doing a good job. Doing an adequate job with the walks, but the strikeouts aren't there to make up for it. So not really excited for him at 8,500. 6,500, we got a different story. But he is playing Detroit. What do you got for the hurlers here?
Yeah, I think I'm with you. It's a bit of a tough price to pay on DK at 85. He's only 6,000 on FanDuel. In a world where we needed savings on FanDuel, I would really like that price. Getting a decent projection on him, which is a killer projection at that number. I just don't know what I'm going to do with all that savings, but I'll probably have some of them against this weak Detroit team. They're a team I typically like to target. Not a lot of threats in that offense at all. Good amount of strikeouts. Just scrolling over on the board here, if it'll let me. Detroit sits, let's see. Strikeout rate, they are the highest on tomorrow's slate team strikeout rate at 27.5%. So striking out a lot. There's a lot of whiffs there, even for a guy who's not really getting them. He's only at 17.5% this year. But like you mentioned, it was something we expected more of him based on what we had seen from him in the past in the bullpen. So maybe he picks up a few bonus Ks against this team. Turnbull on the other side, like you said, has been pitching really well. 20% strikeout rate on the year. He does have a 13.9% walk rate, 497 xFIP. So it's not necessarily translating off of like the back of the baseball card stats. 49.4% ground balls, which is sustaining him. He's a career 48.2% guy. Throws a sinker 22.5% of the time. Gets good whiff on his slider. Got a heavy spin four-seam fastball, 25% whiff on the fastball. So helps set up that sinker. Helps keep the ball on the ground if guys are looking up in the zone for the fastball. Overall, though, I don't know if he's a pitcher I completely trust, and my model doesn't really either. It's too big a price for me on DK. Probably too big a price to have any real shares of him on FanDuel at at 8,100. Not getting a great projection. Brewers lineup, we've talked about a couple times recently. They're probably not as good as their reputation might suggest, but I think there's enough in that lineup that they could at least get to him. I don't know if they're a stack target for me tomorrow, but I think they could get to Turnbull for at least a decent enough game where you don't want him.
All right, on to our next game here. Tough ask for Jake Junis. The righty is going against Cleveland. Let's see. He has made 3 starts so far this year, 69, 76, and 64 pitches. I do want to point out he has allowed the 5th most home runs in the league since the start of the 2018 season. He's 7,200 on D. Not really excited about that. Tristan Mckenzie, on the other hand, had that phenomenal first start against, wait for it, Detroit, where he had 10 strikeouts in 6 innings on 80 pitches. He went against St. Louis in his next start, 84 pitches, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks, made it 4 innings. So it was not horrible by any stretch, but at 6,700, I'm going to consider him against Kansas City. Kansas City striking out more than they have in the past, I guess is a fair way to say it. They are 10th in the league right now, 25% strikeout rate against righties, and they are scoring runs 12% less efficiently than righties against righties than the rest of the league. So take a chance on the kid. Not overly excited for Junis. If Junis was going to give us 90 pitches, I'd probably have him equal, but I don't know what we're getting from Junis.
Yeah, and Junis isn't a guy I really go to all that much. He's 12.2 innings pitched so far.
We've said bad things about a lot of pitchers here. We're running out of player pool.
Really, just take the day off, everybody. So, we got some guys to work with here. I like the kid on the other side of this one, like you were saying. So just looking at Junis, 50% ground ball this year, but just 42% for his career. He's yielding, funnily, in his 12.2 innings, or 12 and 2/3 innings, rather, he's yielded 50% hard contact and 40% medium contact, which is not good. But that's a very small sample, of course. 18% sinker usage. He stopped throwing his curveball entirely. It was a 15% usage pitch, and he was getting 25% whiff on it previously. It was his out pitch against left-handed hitters, and he doesn't really seem to have one anymore. His home run per 9 career 178 to righties. So maybe load up on some righties, and I think we can really go to both sides of the plate against him here if you're so inclined. The Indians play well. We have talked about them a number of times. Like the number I'm getting on Franmil, just as a little home run if you're looking for a one-off there. Both sides, pretty good price. Bottom end of the Indians lineup, little bit dicey. They get super cheap, though, so it helps you build with them. Mckenzie on the other side, I think you're right. I think at 6,700 on DK, he's definitely in play. I have to fix the innings projection that I'm getting for him. I think he's 8,000 is just borderline price range for where I'd want to be on him on FanDuel. I think he's going to get some ownership at that number, which is probably going to break me off of him. I'm probably not going to get to him if he's getting owned. So it'll probably really come down to what the top starters tool says tomorrow and what Alex sees for him for probability of success and for ownership. Overall, I do really, really like the kid. I mean, he's a phenomenal prospect. He's only 4 innings pitched last time out after that 10 strikeout debut, gave up a home run, 2 earned, 3 strikeouts. Didn't have the same command, but it's probably a blip. He was reliably above 30% strikeouts when he was healthy in the minors. He's a kid who's had some major injuries in the past, but he seems healthy. He's over it. 94-mile-an-hour, heavy spin fastball, good whiff on that, plus breaking balls, plus change. So great arsenal. I like the kid. I don't love the spot on the one pitcher, but yeah, I think you can definitely roll out a good amount of them at 67 on DK.
All right, we're getting to be interesting here. We've got 4 games left. I'm saying interesting because I've got Jose Berrios going against one of the offense to beat this year, the Chicago White Sox. He was not up for the task the last time he faced them, which was his first start of the season. So we'll give him that. He has been relatively solid from a strikeout perspective, 6.97, 4, 6.66, and then 1 in that start that opened his season against the White Sox. He's been adequate. He's 7,900. I don't know what to do with him. I don't want to target him. I don't want to target against him. On the other side, Ronaldo Lopez. I definitely want to target against him. Shockingly, he has only allowed, 2 home runs this year, but that's because he has only made 3 starts. How many, do I still have that up? He has allowed the 9th most home runs since the beginning of the 2018 season. Just 3 behind Jake Junis. So, yeah, let's target against Ronaldo Lopez here. I don't know what to do with Berrios because he had sort of turned things around a little bit this year, and he's looking like a starter. I thought, and we've talked about this, or I've talked about this on shows before, I thought this was going to be the perfect situation for him to just get, go out there every 5 days and get 4 innings, get some strikeouts, and just be done with it. But he's been going into the 5th and the 6th inning, which is something he couldn't do when he was tasked as being a starter. So who knows? Hashtag 2020. But I just don't have a lot of confidence on either side. He is going against, again, arguably the best offense in the league right now. Against righties, from a WRC plus perspective, they're at 107. I think against lefties, they're at something like 136 or something. The White Sox are. They just have boatload of power. They strike out at middle of the road rates, maybe a tick higher than average, but that's where we're trending this year, just with the way everything's going. But they're very, very dangerous. I just don't know that there's upside in there, and this could be a 2 home run allowed game, and he could get chased early. So I don't feel great about Berrios.
Yeah, neither do I. I'm completely with you on that, and so is my model here. I like the price better on DK at least. He's 8,800 on FanDuel, and just not getting a good projection on him entirely because of the offense that he's facing here. You said it, they're just top to bottom good. 1 through 9 in this order are good hitters. I really would worry about rolling any pitcher out against them in any real giant shares. So far this year, Berrios is 24.8% strikeout rate, so he's doing well there. 11.5% walk rate, though, so he's putting too many guys on. You can't do that against this offense. That's going to cost you if you do that here. So 4.36 xFIP, 1.47 whip, dicey. It's a tough ask, like you said, coming in. Guy gets good whiff on his curve and his change, some on his four-seamer. I'd love to see what he could do if he could add like 100, 200 RPM to his four-seamer. Just add a little bit more spin to it and just create that effect that we talked about. All of his other stuff would play really well off of it, but he's not going to do that between today and tomorrow. So I'm a little bit concerned for his upside here. I think we can do better for the price. I know we haven't talked about many good pitchers, but it's a tough ask. I don't know that I can justify getting to him at all on FanDuel. Minimal on DK. It would probably be an oddball of a spot and that price is something where maybe you could get really contrarian by paying up for him as an SP2, putting him with one of the higher end pitchers, and then going cheap with bats. That'd be a really weird build, and I don't think a lot of people will do it. I don't love him as your SP1, and then you've got him in an SP1, and then taking a risk with a dice roll cheaper than him in SP2. Don't like doing that. So he's a weird price point over there. Tricky. Ronaldo on the other side, I don't think I want to mess with. Not against this powerful Twins offense with the home runs ability in that that they can bring. 5,700 on DK. If you really wanted to roll some dice, he might be your guy to do that with just because of the price. I don't get an absurdly bad projection on him, but I don't know. He certainly hasn't earned trust, and he gives up all those home runs. Gets a good amount of whiff on his slider. Around league average and exit velo allowed so far this year, but it's an 8-inning sample. So we can't really trust anything in StatCast this year. 139 home run per 9 for his career, 152 to lefties. I think we drill into more of the twin stack than we do with anything with this pitcher.
All right, next game we have nothing great. Colby Allard, 6,500, a lefty going against Houston. No, thank you. On the other side, you do have Christian Javier. We have seen Framber Valdez battle back from negative fantasy points to against the Rangers. He's still in the game. 84 pitches, 7 strikeouts, 3 walks, 3 earned runs. He's no longer negative. We are paying even more for Christian Javier, who I do not think is... We don't have nearly as much of a track record as we do with Framber Valdez. And we barely have a track record with Framber Valdez. What do you want to do with Javier?
Oh, boy. It's another tricky one.
It is Texas, though.
But, I mean, it's the Texas lineup. They're not good. We know they're not good, and they traded away some of their good hitters. So,
what do you think their WRC plus is right now, Texas, against righties?
24% below average.
32% below average. 68.
I'm gonna give myself a little close. That's really bad.
Not bad. That's not bad. Yeah. You were saying the Brewers basically. They're worse than the Brewers.
So this is another spot where I just don't really love either pitcher. Taking a look for Javier here, and my dog is like attacking me as I'm trying to look this up. Sorry about that, everybody. EMac might be able to see him on camera.
I can see him, yeah. First appearance.
There he is. So, yeah, he's 7 home runs allowed, 5 to lefties for Javier, just 31 innings pitched so far this year. Good quality contact numbers overall, 81st percentile in exit velo, 80th in hard hit rate. Giving up sitting in the 31st percentile of barrels, so that's where some of those home run balls probably came from. Whiff rate only 24th percentile, but 65th in strikeout rate. So some kind of weird numbers in StatCast, but not a pitcher who's really earned anything from us yet. 25.6% strikeout rate so far this year, 4.74 xFIP, only a 103 whip. So he's not putting a ton of guys on base. Against a bad lineup, I don't really want much to do with him at 7,600 on FanDuel. And is he really 9,300 on DK?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think we can justify that at all. I don't know. Would you have any of them like 5-10%?
So most likely, and here's why. I don't know how much I trust Scherzer in the matchup against the Phillies, but that would be the pivot away from Scherzer. A lot of it's going to depend on how popular he is, because why wouldn't you just go up to Scherzer, right? He's essentially matchup proof, even though the Phillies strike out the least against righties this year in the league. But it's Max Scherzer. Everybody strikes out against Max Scherzer. So it's going to come down more to game theory. But we've got 2 games left. We're still running out of pitchers because the matchups aren't great for even the good guys. We do
have a couple good ones coming up.
Well, Walker Bueller is we'll find out. Is Walker Bueller going to be one of them? He was coming off the injured list. Remember, he missed a start with a blister, had a 30 pitch side session, and should be good to go, this blurb says, without much limitation. But he is 10,200, and what is without much limitation when you've gone 92, 89, 87, and 79 pitches in your last 4 starts? If you go 80 or less, which feels about right, 75, 80, Do I really want that for 10,200? I don't know. On the other side, you've got Zach Gallen, who has been absolutely outstanding this season, but he's going against the Dodgers, which is not a good thing for anybody. This will be his second time against the Dodgers. He held his own the first time, went 6 innings, allowed 1 home run, 2 earned run total, 2 total earned runs, 9 strikeouts, 23 DraftKings points. They got the win. So, I don't know. I wish Zach was going against Texas and I'd play him instead of Javier. That would solve a lot of these problems. Yeah.
That would be the play, but so would everybody else. And 75% owned on DK. So it's tough. I like the Walker Bueller side. I'm going to swallow the risk on the innings and just hope that he puts up. If he gives me 90 pitches, I think I'm good. I really like the kid. He's got great strikeout stuff. He's an ace. So really the pitches and old, Captain Hook Dave Roberts is really the only thing to worry about here. A little dicey for the price. 10-3 on FanDuel is a lot to pay for one, on your one pitcher site. Getting a very good projection on him, but it's with high innings. 10-2 on DK, same kind of idea. Gallen is a tough pivot on the other side. 10K on FanDuel, 94 on DK. I like it. I can justify it a little bit more over there. But like you were just saying, it's a really tough ask against this Dodgers lineup. The other, basically, presumptive best offense in baseball. Them and the White Sox have just been putting things up. So Gallen's 28.4% strikeout for his career, 9.7% walk. Another guy who's a former Marlin, now pitching for the Diamondbacks. So we saw them trade another pitcher over yesterday. Very, very good quality of contact numbers so far this year. 78th percentile exit velo, 82nd hard hit rate, sitting 79th percentile in xWOBA, 72nd percentile in strikeout rate, 71st in whiff. So he's getting a lot of strikeouts, generating 40% ground balls, 30% fly ball. So some hitters get the ball in the air against him, of course. 30% whiff on his cutter, curve, and change. So he's got some strikeout pitches, got a good arsenal. I think we can get to some of them here, particularly on DK. I think that price is an interesting pivot. I think even despite the matchup, I might go to Gallen a little bit more than I would go to a Javier. It's a tricky spot. And I don't like saying that, but I think with the dearth of good pitching options and with that as one of the main pivot options there, I think we can get to it. I don't know that I would do it very much on FanDuel where I like some of the other one pitcher options better.
All right, fun with numbers as we start to wind things down here. The Dodgers this year have a 132 WRC plus against righties. That's pretty good, nice. Right? Now, you say, it's 1,000 at-bats, right? Small sample size. Well, WRC plus actually starts to normalize a little bit there. Remember, because it's trying to neutralize all the park factors and it's more of a comparing it against other teams kind of situation, right? It's kind of the caveman explanation of it, but that's essentially what it's doing. If we take everybody's active rosters and their results wherever they were back to the beginning of the 2018 season, would that be more representative of the Dodgers WRC plus? I think it would. So over those 8,300 at bats, they have a 127. So they go down 5%, and they lead the league by far. So, okay, no matter how you slice it, the Dodgers are pretty darn good against lefties. We did see Cody Bellinger not in the lineup. He was sore during batting practice. They decided to, with an abundance of caution, to not have him play. Would not shock me if he sits out a second day. Dodgers are just cruising right now. So that takes a big bat out of the lineup. Do they lose a lot of depth? No, but it's one of their key stacking pieces for it. But that still doesn't. I don't know what to do with Galen or Gallen. Right. Last game. Are you ready? I don't think you want to talk about Julio Teheran going against the Dodgers.
You've read my mind.
Is there anybody else in this game you want to mention?
But actually, before we move on, I want to go back to what you were just saying on the Dodgers end, because it's important to note, like you were saying, you do lose Bellinger. We've also lost Turner, who went on the DL.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he had the hamstring issue. Yep.
And Jock Peterson wasn't in the lineup. Is he on the DL and I missed that? Jock wasn't in the lineup today either. If all three of those hitters are out of the lineup, I mean, it's still a good lineup. Just looking down what they rolled out today, right? You've got Betts, Seager, Pollock, Muncy, Taylor, Smith, Hernandez, Rios, and Lux. That's still a pretty darn good lineup, but it's not that Dodgers lineup with that gigantic WRC plus. So
Peterson hit by a pitch on the 27th in the finger, was pulled. I don't know if that's a lingering issue. He has played in the 3 games since, once as a pinch hitter and twice as a starter. He did not play on the 30. Oh, the Dodgers didn't. Dodgers.
Yeah. All right. So maybe just a little rest for Jock, but something to keep an eye on. You never know. Something to, maybe a little, if you need an argument in Gallen's favor to do a tiebreaker, maybe that's what it is. So, anyway, moving on to that other game that you were just asking about, the last one on the slate. You know that I'm a Dinelson Lamet fan. You know that I was waiting to talk about him. You know I don't want to talk about Teheran. So, Lamet, I think we can get to here. The Angels are not that good. They've got a few very good. They've got a Mike Trout, and then they've got a couple pretty good hitters. Anthony Rendon is a star. He's a very good hitter. And the lineup kind of falls apart after that. You guys know I like Joe Adell out there, and he's got a ton of power. He hit the 2 home runs that I completely missed out on the other day, but he's just really not making contact. Just looking down this lineup for current year stats, Ohtani is hitting, and we're talking batting average, which I don't like, but just to use it, Ohtani's hitting 189, Adell's hitting 173, Castro's hitting 192. Castro's gone, but Renfico's hitting 158. I mean, there's a lot of holes in this lineup toward the back end, and then none of the guys on the front end are doing very well. You've got some power. You've got Trout, obviously, to avoid. You've got Rendon in there with a 209 ISO, and then you've got Brian Goodwin has a pretty good ISO. Other than that, the power hasn't really been there. So I want to target this Angels lineup. I want to roll some Dinelson Lamet. 9,300 on FanDuel, getting a very good projection on him. 99 on DK, getting up there in price, but now you're putting him in that tier with those other guys. Maybe he's one that the public doesn't go to as much just on name recognition. I know he's gotten more popular and people know who he is more now. But when you put him next to a Scherzer, next to a Bueller, next to a Gallen and a Wheeler, maybe he looks a little less appealing to the public, and maybe we can get to him there, get a little bit sneaky. Dynamite kid, just ridiculous strikeout stuff. 30.9% strikeout on his career. He's given up 4 home runs in 38 innings, which is a 0.94, which is an improvement over his 1.36 home run per 9 for his career. Throws a 97-mile-an-hour 4-seamer and a 2-seamer sinker as well. 86-mile-an-hour slider that he's getting 50% whiff on so far this year. Just a dynamite kid's 0.08 and 0.098 x ISO against that slider. So just an incredible pitch. Really like him. Do not want any of Julio Teheran on the other side. I think it's going to be a super popular move, but if you can figure out how to do it between the pricing and the popularity, I think loading up on the Padres bats is probably going to be a good idea against Teheran here.
And that definitely makes sense. Reason Peterson wasn't in the lineup, they started a lefty. That's my guess.
Oh,
and well, because I just looking, it's like, wait, Kike and Chris Taylor are both. Oh, it's a lefty. So yeah, and they don't have as quick of a hook as they did once upon a time with Peterson against a lefty. I'm a little surprised that he wasn't in the lineup tonight, just because Alex Young has not been great against lefties. And if you're ever looking for a time to give some reps to your guy who's trying to get better against lefties, this would be the time. But when you've got a deep lineup like that, I guess, why worry about it? Plus, maybe it was a little bit of the finger, and he gets 2 days off now. So there you are.
Yeah. Could also, you never know, it could have been a thing because they had that whole issue where they were trying to trade him before the season and all of that. So they might have just been trying to showcase him deadline passed. And now that they don't need to do it, they can focus on winning. But I like Jock. I would want Jock on my team. I don't know what they're thinking there, but they're deep, like you said. Anyway.
All right. That's going to wrap it up for us. Reminder, we were sponsored by Yahoo. See, I said I'd wait. I waited till the end. They do have CSV upload and edit now. Mass multi-entry is a thing, though not in very many of their contests, but it is helpful to organize things and be able to import and export to make adjustments. But they do have their no management fee contests posted for basketball and baseball. Those tend to fill rather quickly. They are not large, but it's a great way to build your bankroll. That's Yahoo Fantasy Sports. Any final thoughts before we dip on out of here? T. McBee.
Final thoughts are I'm going to grab some dinner and I'm going to see what is going haywire with my lineups for tonight because I am not doing well today. I think all my pitching broke. Dicey one.
Folks, he doesn't know yet about John Lester. And with that, gamers,
he glanced at it during the show. He knows.
Good luck.